Okay. Well, good morning. Morning. Welcome to our graduation ceremony for the Professional Master's Program in Industrial and Organizational Psychology here at the University of Georgia, or as I like to call it, the IOMP. My name is Brian Frost. I'm the director of the program here. And welcome everyone here that's able to be in person. Welcome to everyone on the live stream. And welcome to our 4 graduates here who are attending virtually via Zoom. This is quite a different structure as in years past, but it's good to be in person with some of you who are able to be here. Welcome to the UGA Chapel as well. This structure, a little history on this structure. It was built in 1832, so it's almost 200 years old. The painting behind us that was behind the projector screen here was completed in 1847. It's a painting of the interior of St. Peter's at Rome, and it was done by George Cook. At one time, it was the largest oil painting in the world. It's 17 by 23.5 feet, and it weighs nearly a ton. There's a chapel bell behind the chapel that's famous as well. For those of you that aren't familiar with football game days here in Athens, fans often walk by and ring that bell before, during, and after the games. Students walk by and to celebrate any sort of achievements and ring that bell. Unfortunately, the rope is not all the way down right now to be able to ring that, but I do recommend those of you that are here, or those of you that are live streaming or virtually, if you're ever here on campus, take the opportunity at one point to come back here and experience ringing that bell to celebrate what you've accomplished today and this past 2 years. 2020 has been a rough year, but we're not going to let it get us down today. We're here to celebrate an amazing monumental accomplishment for the graduates here. For those of us able to be in person, we've dusted off our dress shoes, our slacks, our dresses, our belts, things we haven't used in 5 months, and are here to try to get a little connectedness in what's been a really interesting past 5 months. And so thank you all that are able to be here, and those of you that are on the live stream and attending virtually as well. But we are here today to lift each other up and to celebrate something, an accomplishment in a very challenging time. We're here to honor our graduates who've been tirelessly working for the last 2 years, giving up free time, giving up family time, giving up lots of sleep. I can't tell you how many emails I received at 3 in the morning, assignments that were turned in at 4 in the morning the past 2 years, to earn a very prestigious degree from one of the top-ranked IELTS psychology programs in the world, and one of the fastest growing career fields in the country. This accomplishment is made all the more remarkable by the fact that these students completed this degree in 2 years while working full-time, some of them while changing jobs, experiencing job loss, adding more work responsibility on. Some of them were also raising and homeschooling young children, also taking care of family members. Some of them experienced the excruciating loss of close loved ones during this 2 years. And through all of that, getting through all of that, then all of them and us have dealt with the greatest shock to the functioning of a society that any of us have ever experienced. Upending our routines, upending our habits, combining work, school, and family life into one physical space. That's perseverance. What these graduates have shown is perseverance. We're all here today showing that we can adapt. We're all adapting. Our society hasn't quite persevered in this moment, but these graduates have. And we're here in this moment to celebrate that with them. We're also honoring the family members of the graduates today, because I know all too well, as having been a grad student before, that you can't get through it without some support. And family members that are here and family members that are live streaming in, I am certain that you were integral to the success that we're celebrating today with our graduates here. You've also had to deal with having to explain to neighbors and friends who are curious, who ask what your son, daughter, niece, nephew, friend are studying in graduate school. And then you say industrial and organizational psychology, and they say, what is that? You've had to deal with trying to explain that, and it is not easy. In fact, I spend 30 minutes in the first class of this program trying to help students explain it efficiently when they get asked what they're studying in grad school. My wife, who's a nurse, I've known her, we've been together for 16 years. She still comes home every once in a while from work and says, hey, I was talking to a patient or a doctor today and I was telling them about what you do. And she tells me how she explained it and she says, did I explain that correctly? After 16 years, and she's getting better and better at it, but she's still working on it. It's not easy. But we are, in this field, we are ultimately trying to improve the experiences of humans at work. And then the subsequent effect that that experience has on life after work, outside of work. Experiences with peers, experiences with our own work tasks, experiences with bosses and leaders, experiences with cultures and systems and processes and organizations that affect us every day. And we're trying to improve those experiences in this field. All right, before I get too far, I need to introduce my colleagues here on stage with us. We have faculty here who have contributed to the learning experiences and success of this program and learning experiences of the students that we're celebrating today. And I want to introduce them as well. So we have Dr. Brian Hoffman here in the back. He's a professor of IO psychology here in the PhD program. He's one of the founders, if not the founder. I think this program was originally his idea, and a founding member of this program. He's a member of our steering committee for this program, and he's an instructor in our program for applied testing and assessments. We have Dr. Kristen Shockley. She's an associate professor of IO psychology here in the PhD program in Athens, member of the steering committee, and she's our instructor for our motivation course in the master's program. Dr. Melissa Clark, associate professor of IO psychology, member of our steering committee, and she's our instructor for our Research Methods 1 class, statistics, essentially. Dr. Matthew Harrison, he's the vice president of human resources at Jackson Healthcare, and is our instructor for our talent development course. And Dr. Val Marcos, who's the owner of VMark Consulting, and the instructor for our leadership development course. So thank you all for being here. At this time, I'd like to welcome our colleague and friend, Dr. Matthew Harrison, to the podium. Dr. Harrison is a graduate of Emory University and earned his PhD in IO psychology here at the University of Georgia. In his current role as Vice President of Human Resources at Jackson Healthcare, he is responsible for planning, directing, and overseeing all human resources and administrative services for the Jackson Healthcare companies, and leads delivery in the areas of HR metrics and reporting, job and compensation analysis, performance management, organizational development, change management, and employee relations. Dr. Harrison served in leadership roles previous to this in organizations Mannheim, McKesson, the Weather Company, and at Comcast. He has received diversity leadership awards from the National Diversity Council, the Technology Association of Georgia, and was recognized as one of Atlanta's Power 30 Under 30, and was named a Man of Influence by the National Urban League. So I'll welcome Dr. Harrison to the podium.
Thank you. I think I'm safely 6 feet, so I'm going to take this off just for a second, because I think I might pass out if I try to do this whole speech while speaking through it. But distinguished faculty, family, friends, and class of 2020, let me start by saying how immensely proud I am of each and every one of you. Completing a master's degree while also adulting is certainly no easy feat, and I'm sure many of you, or probably all of you, had no expectation of going through your final few semesters during the midst of a global pandemic. So I really want to applaud you for both your dedication as well as your tenacity. I feel honored to have played a part in this chapter of your life, as it was an absolute pleasure having each of you in class last summer. And I feel immensely privileged to have the opportunity to share some words of wisdom, or at least it's my hope and intention that they will be, with you all today. When you let your light shine, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. Originally written by Marianne Williamson and also said by Nelson Mandela in his 1994 inauguration speech, this has always been one of my all-time favorite quotes. It has hung on my wall in every one of my corporate offices, and I've always loved this quote because it to me really speaks to the interconnectedness of all of us and how we are all truly beacons of light for one another. We're often unaware, but others are always looking, listening, and watching us. Case in point, many of you have absolutely no idea the impact your obtaining your master's degree has had on those around you. For some of you, you completed your bachelor's degree years ago, worked a few years, and came back to school to get this degree. Others of you entered into this program taking on a completely new and different discipline. Do you have any idea how uncommon that is? Far too often, people get into their routine and, though not pleased with it, feel stuck and won't take the necessary steps to change their path. Many of you did that. You chose to change your path. And I'm telling you, those around you saw that. And while it may not have sparked a change in all that witnessed it, I assure you it did in some. So Thomas, Angel, Aaron, Jake, Jared, let your light shine. As someone with a master's degree, or someone who will have a master's degree in about 30 minutes, you all are among roughly only 13% of the US population who has an advanced degree. So one could likely accurately guess or assume that you're someone who strives for the best. And as someone who strives for the best, you unfortunately and undoubtedly will fail at some point. In those times, I encourage you to give yourself time to mourn that failure, but really attempt to focus more of your time on what you're supposed to learn from that experience. I remember hearing in my early 20s, and it may or may not have been on the Oprah show, that our failures, our disappointments, our mistakes actually happen to make us better, but they can only do that if we allow them to. This notion stuck with me when I first heard it, but it probably wasn't until about 7 or 8 years ago that I really got it. And since then, I truly do try to look at my mistakes and disappointments as learning opportunities. And so instead of letting those times of defeat or dissatisfaction dim my light, I'll allow what I learned from it to intensify my flame. So much so that now when I'm going through situations that may not be happening the way I initially thought, intended, or hoped, I no longer say, why is this happening to me? But instead I ask myself, why is this happening for me? Because I know there's a reason. So Dakota, Katie, Janisha, Tanya, let your light shine. And somewhat tied to owning and learning from your mistakes is you're coming into more of who you are as both a person and professional. And I will say getting this degree and the doors that it will potentially open for you is going to take a number of you into new and uncharted territory. And as human beings, you may naturally want to kind of look around you and emulate those who are around you. I actually encourage you not to do that. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying that you can't learn from others, learn from their experiences and perspectives, but what you should do is take that information and apply it into bringing your best self into your job, your work, and your organization. I assure you, being yourself is much easier than pretending to be someone else. As a black gay man raised in the rural South, I know all too well what it's like navigating through life not fully being myself. Earlier in my career, I remember referring to my partner as my quote-unquote friend. I remember not having a picture of the two of us on display in my office. It was actually my colleague Alex who was a beacon of light for me. I remember him not only being incredibly proud when he spoke about his partner Steve, but being very open about it. He still doesn't know it to this day, but his living in his truth gave me the courage to live in mine. And what's amazing is that as soon as I began being more open and honest, and let's face it, I'm pretty sure my coworkers knew I had as many work bags as my female coworkers. But when I began being my truest self, I no longer had to exert that extra energy into purposely being vague, and instead truly showed up as myself, which allowed me a freedom that translated into higher engagement and ultimately greater productivity with my work. And in many ways, I think this relates back to a common thread amongst all of us. Each and every one of us has a desire to be seen, to be heard, and to know that our existence matters. And as my quote stated earlier, and as Alex did for me, ironically, our being our full selves and our letting our authentic light shine gives validity and permission for others to do the same. So Shannon, Trent, Chloe, let your light shine. And as you all move into this next phase in both your personal and professional lives, I encourage you to take the necessary time to reflect. As you begin adding new jobs and positions and board memberships to your resume, I do want you to make note of not only what you're accomplishing, but more so how these things really relate back to who you are and what your purpose is. You should never have something on your resume just because it looks good. Your resume should, in essence, be a written representation of your life's calling. Just think about this. The average person spends 90,000 hours in their lifetime working, or a third of their lifetime. I know it's kind of depressing. But if you are going to be spending a third of your entire existence working, why would you use that time not doing what you're called to be doing? And let me be clear, I'm not even saying that I'm necessarily called to be an industrial organizational psychologist, but in the work that I do, I'm able to help employees and leaders work more effectively, think differently about their careers and how they approach work. And really, ultimately, my goal as an HR professional is to create environments where all those hours spent away from family and friends are done doing meaningful and worthwhile work. That's what I think my calling is, and that's what I'm passionate about. And when you're able to find what that calling is and what you're passionate about, I promise you, your light will undoubtedly shine. You can't help but radiate brightness when you're in your element and doing what you're supposed to be doing. So Bella, Paige, Joanna, David, let your light shine. And graduates, you may or may not have noticed, but I paired your names in this speech based on the other students you chose to work with on your major group project from my class last summer. I did it for two reasons. One, to show you all just how amazing my memory is, but even more so, I grouped you all in that way to align with my last but perhaps most important lesson. As you start this next chapter, be incredibly mindful of those you allow to be in your circle. While you should certainly have folks that will challenge you, be careful not to encircle yourself with nasty naysayers, persistent pessimists, or dedicated doubters. With the unquestionable success that I'm certain awaits each of you, do know this cast of characters will certainly try to permeate your inner sphere. The people you surround yourself with can somehow find misery in your accomplishments or be the first to celebrate your successes. They can try to bring you down when you're up or try to tell you you're wrong when you're right. They can either feel they exist in your shadow or are walking with you in your light. And please know, because you have chosen this path of hard work and brilliance, there may come times when you are the only bright light in what may feel like is a room full of darkness. Especially in those times, class of 2020, let your light shine. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the student in this graduating class who demonstrated the utmost excellence in the classroom during the past 2 years. This graduate earned a perfect 4.0 GPA, and that is not an easy task in our field. In our field, we specialize in evaluating, assessing performance, differentiating effort from ability, and so we are pretty scrutinizing in grades. So I'd like to acknowledge Katie Manette for that accomplishment. I'd also like to acknowledge the hard work of all of our graduates, who in addition to completing 36 hours of credit hours of classwork, also had to complete a white paper. This was our equivalent of a thesis, but instead of doing academic research, we, given our program is focused on our field of study and our program is focused on applying what you're learning in the classroom immediately to improving organizations, wrote a white paper, which is a concise and persuasive paper that's designed to demonstrate your expertise on a particular topic of your choosing, and then how to take that information, that expertise, and actually influence or try to influence real changes in organizations. And so all of our students were assigned to an instructor one-on-one to work with them on their white paper and had to receive approval on that paper before they could graduate. So when I announce the graduates' names in a little bit, we will also announce the title of their white paper, because it is a huge accomplishment and represents an area of expertise for them. All right, on that note, I'd like to introduce our graduate student speakers. These individuals were elected by their fellow cohort members to represent their cohort today. And I think that most of the students in the cohort were nominated by their fellow cohort members. These students received the most votes, and I think they perfectly represent this cohort, which has been an amazing, supportive, very heartfelt cohort. And I think the three students that they chose represent perfectly the head, hands, and heart of this cohort. So the first person I'm going to introduce is Jared Richardson. Jared is the Assistant Dean of Admissions at Emory University. Jared, I see him as the head. He's going to be the first master's student, or UGA master's student, to be accepted into the UGA IO PhD program, which is an amazing accomplishment given the fact that the PhD program receives about 130 to 150 applications a year and accepts about 3 to 4 students, maybe 5. So we're talking like a 2% acceptance rate. So Jared is going to be joining the PhD program here in the fall. He's an insightful and deep thinker, and at times in the classroom, I honestly felt like I should have been paying him tuition for some of the things he was pushing my thoughts on. So Jared, you have the podium.
The default answer to most questions in industrial organizational psychology is, it depends. I think my cohort will agree when I say it's the tried and true opening line of our professors these last 2 years whenever we attempt to force a definitive answer out of them. We ask, are employees more satisfied when working remotely from home or in a traditional office setting? It depends. What approach to leadership is most effective in improving engagement for workers? It depends. Will graduation be in person, or are you going to be screen sharing a picture of my diploma over Zoom? It depends. And while it's something of a running joke, we respect that in no way is it an attempt to dismiss or avoid answering the question. It depends is the answer, and it's an answer born out of necessity. We say it depends because the principles and research that may apply for one type of job don't apply for another. What one person does in a given work scenario may be entirely different from what someone else does in that same situation. It depends as a reminder to all of us in IO psychology to avoid thinking in terms of convenient generalizations, to appreciate the nuance that makes the study of human work behavior so rich. It's a recognition of the complexity of the work world and the staggering variety of human concerns within it. And while our cohort is certainly much smaller than the larger world of work, I see no less complexity or variety in the people who have been my classmates these last 3 years. I've thought a lot in the recent months about the sacrifices of time and energy this program demands of us, particularly as the COVID-19 pandemic completely upended any and all expectations of what our last 2 semesters would require. But it's only as I've pondered what to say in this speech these last 2 days that I've really thought about what compelled us to make those sacrifices in the first place. Why put so much of our lives on hold for 2 years to go to grad school on top of working full-time and a myriad other responsibilities of adulting? And like most other questions in IO psychology, the answer is, it depends. In our cohort are people who sacrifice weekends with their families and loved ones to better provide for them in the long run. Some of us did schoolwork late into the night after a 10-hour workday because we want more out of our day job. We're willing to devote any waking moment we could to a field that would make our work more fulfilling. Others willingly took on homework assignments on top of their everyday work because they wanted knowledge and skills to do jobs they already love even better. The answer as to why someone decides to get into this program are as diverse as the people in attendance. But I think there are only 2 reasons why people get through it. Those of us graduating and sitting here in celebration today because when the going got tough, we were able to remind ourselves why we were doing this, and we were able to count on our classmates reminding us that we weren't doing it alone. I feel extremely privileged and lucky to have met the 15 other amazing members of Cohort 6 and taken this journey with you guys. The ride would have been nowhere near as fun without the brilliant insights you all regularly brought to class, your enlightening perspectives you shared from your life and professional experiences, your humor and your spirits, and your endless willingness to support one another. You guys are the best cohort, despite what Dr. Frost says. And I couldn't have chosen a better group of people to take this journey with. I'm amazed by all of you. I'm proud of all of you, and I'm really going to miss seeing you all in person. I will conclude by posing one last question to my cohort. Was it all worth it? And I think you know the answer already, or at least the beginning of it. Because yes, it does depend. But not on things like an organization's budgetary restrictions, or cultural work values, or any of the many factors we've grown accustomed to considering in IO. It depends on you. It depends on you continuing even after graduation. The cohort as a support system of trusted friends and colleagues that gives back to you as much and more as you put into it. It depends on you continuing to practice and expand upon the basis of knowledge and skills required in this program, to work towards mastery and making what we've learned second nature, rather than something that's neglected and eventually forgotten. It depends on you actively working to foster awareness and appreciation for the field of biopsychology, to enhance the reputation of your credentials by being an exemplary champion and representative of the discipline. It depends on whether you make today the end of your journey in IO or just the beginning. But having spent the 2 years with all of you, I have zero doubt that it will be the latter. And I'm excited and reassured to know that Cohort 6 will be there for each other at the beginning of this collective next leg in our journey in IO psychology. So congratulations to everyone in Cohort 6. Keep challenging yourselves and keep supporting one another. Thank you guys. We did it!
Thank you, Jared. Next, I'm going to call up Erin Cunningham. She's the Vice President of Advancement at YMCA National Resource Center. Erin is, in my mind, the hands of this cohort. She represents resilience and courage, and she is the epitome of a can-do attitude, and she consistently seeks opportunities to change and evolve, and it inspires me every time I interact with her. So I'd like to welcome Erin up here.
Okay, please forgive me for reading. I am trying not to become a blubbering mess up here in front of not only everybody here, but also everybody streaming live. So thank you, Dr. Frost. It was 11:59 p.m. on the due date for the applications to get into this program that I actually pressed submit to come here into the program. And all of the professors here are not going to be in the least bit surprised that it was at the absolute last second. But we're here now. I cannot believe that we are graduating. This has been a heck of a year. When I started the program, I wasn't quite sure what I was getting myself into, and having no experience with psych programs and never taking a stats class before, I was a little bit out of my depth for the first and second org research class. So one of the earlier cohort students came in, and Dr. Frost, thank you so much for setting up so many of those opportunities for us to learn from other cohorts, because no offense, professors, he gave the absolute best advice, and that was to start a cohort 6 group me. Jared and I are going to try and do a little bit of technology, so maybe there are going to be some slides that go along with this, and maybe there aren't. We'll see how that goes. So, Jared, if you are able to present the slides, now's the time for the first one. Okay, so starting on October 12th, 2018, when we started the Cohort 6 GroupMe, my individual story in IO became a part of the Cohort 6 story. Everything changed. 3 o'clock in the morning, stuck in R, send a GroupMe message. Sorry, Thomas and Courtney, you got a lot of those. If you turned in a paper at the very last second, but you felt great about it, send a message. And at any time of the day or night, someone would come back and give encouragement and empathy or a really good laugh, because we needed that. Our cohort journey transformed from a group of individual students into a tight-knit friend group. And we had a shared journey with a lot of adversity and a lot of fun together. Inspired by Janisha, I took a look at the data of our shared chats, and so Cohort 6, I am so sorry for pulling back the curtain a little bit on what was happening behind the scenes. But during this 2-year span with leap year, there was a total of 17,544 hours over our program. And between our cohort projects, and I had just over 22,000 messages and reactions in GroupMe. Now, this data was pulled yesterday to be as accurate as possible, but I think there's probably another 100 or so I'm sorry if I'm a little bit off. That equals 1 notification every hour of every day for 2 full years, with a few thousand extra just for fun. The average word was 13, or the average message was 13 words long, and that spanned over 400 single-spaced word pages. And apparently we made each other laugh a lot, because LOL was used 12,000 times more frequently than other words in the corpus sample, and Dr. Frost, you came up 150 times. But don't worry, it was mostly asking you who was going to ask you to do something for us. Gratitude was also a big theme. Words associated with thank you were a full 1% of the more than 200,000 words and over 400 images. Also, why did we take so many pictures of computer screens and send them to each other? Not screenshots, just the actual computer screen, because we had over 100 pictures of computer screens. But when we needed a pick-me-up, pets came to the rescue. We had dozens of pet photos getting the rest that all of us were not getting. Pets sleeping on laptops, pets sleeping on books, all kinds of fantastic pet photos. to share, and I got to use the very rare excuse to get an assignment extension because of an emergency baby beluga birth. Thank you, Angel. Way better than the dog ate your homework. The photos truly captured how tough the transition was from being in person to video. And Jake, thank you for showing exactly what that looks like live and in person here. But like IO, outside the classroom, the numbers only tell a part of the story. We celebrated 36 birthdays together with homemade treats. We had a murder mystery party. Katie, thank you for being my co-conspirator. Jared serenaded us with karaoke. Cohort 6, you can just scroll to the top for a video of that. Cohort 5 shared their wisdom over pizza, and then just last night they reminded us what an accomplishment it is just to be here today. We've been with each other to celebrate. We've had 2 engagements and 2 weddings, 7 new jobs. We have a new baby on the way, maybe the size of an onion today. And there have been challenges as well. Lost jobs, family scares, family health scares, and Bill, who started the journey with us and can't be here today to see his daughter graduate. He would be so proud of you, Shannon. My professor in an undergraduate said, you are what you have been becoming. And this really stuck with me. Every day, the actions we take and the people we influence don't only live with us in that moment. They're the experiences and relationships that shape how we respond, how we collaborate, how we work through conflict, how we approach challenges and seize opportunities. I have changed because of all of you. For example, when did I become someone who thought that these were a perfect holiday greeting? Jared, if you could send up the paranormal distribution slides, that is an IO psychologist for sure. But I'm so grateful to have been honored. I'm so grateful and honored to have been part of this group. Along with the professors over the last 2 years, I have gained not only knowledge, but wisdom from Cohort 6. I could not be prouder to look at us and say, you have been part of my becoming. You have been an influence not only in who I am today, but who I will be. And 2 years seems both like yesterday and a lifetime ago. And I am so glad that I got to spend it with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. All right, last but not least, student speaker, Janisha Peggies, Operations and Project Manager at the General Board of Global Ministries for the United Methodist Church. Janisha is the heart of this cohort in my mind. Not that everyone else is not the heart as well, but Janisha really stood out. Confident, positive. I found myself during these Zoom sessions when I didn't have the classroom, physical classroom I'm teaching to get the nonverbal feedback. When I was in the Zoom sessions, I always found myself looking at Janisha to get a smile from something or an affirmation from her because she's always there to provide that affirmation. Janisha, I welcome you up here.
I'm sorry I messed up my makeup already. To my beloved Cohort 6, we are responsible, reliable, resilient, and ready. We are ready. Ready to be great. I believe it was Michael Jordan who said, "To be great, you must work hard, endure pain, and sacrifice." We all knew what that meant 10 days ago, because 10 days ago was July 30th, when all of our white papers were absolutely positively due. 10 days ago, many of us did not know if we would be here right now, but we are. And you know who did know? Our IO faculty. They knew 2.5 years ago when we hit submit on our applications, and they ran their sophisticated advanced analytics on our data. They knew this would be our outcome. Our fate was already written, but we worked hard nonetheless. We endured the painful nights and days and years. And even though they did not consider certain confounding variables, like Highway 85 blowing up and us still having to go to competency modeling, and oh, by the way, competency modeling was the same semester as motivation, and we got through it, and that happened literally the class before the pandemic. My predecessors have spoke quite a bit about our trials, our tribulations, our jubilees, our successes, our wins, but that's because it was so pivotal in our formation. It was so pivotal to our experience. And through it all, each of us, we made it. We made it. We are battle-tested. We are tried. We are true. We are great. And to keep it very short with you all, as we go out into the world and move forward, it is my hope that each of you remember, and I want to say this with no uncertain terms, it is my hope that each of you remember that you are great, that you were built for this, that your battles are already won, and that without any uncertainty, whenever you carry out your future endeavors and move on to your next steps, and the steps after that, and the steps after that, you are absolutely and positively and already demonstrated that you are exactly the person for the job. Thank you. Thank you, my beloved cohort.
All right, good recovery. That is the name of the game this year, recovery. Resilience and recovery. All right, so before we conclude with the conferral of degrees, I just want to say a few words, and I'll take the cue from everyone else here. I'll take this off for a second. It's been amazing to watch your cohort grow and evolve. It really has. Every time I see a cohort come through this program, each cohort develops their own shared personality. And you guys have really stood out in many ways from any other cohort in this program. Thank you for your hard work and dedication. You guys should be very proud of yourselves. We're all very proud of you. We're proud not only of what you've learned and what you've shown in your learning outcomes, but what you've brought to the culture and climate of this program. This program we have two cohorts. We have a first-year cohort and a second-year cohort. And this cohort did something. Normally, I have to ask the cohorts to host a social event for the new cohort coming in. I asked the second-year cohort to have something to kind of onboard the new cohort. But this cohort was the first cohort that took it on themselves to do that without me asking. And not only do that, But before they even got to their second year, when they were in their first year, they took the second-year cohort that was graduating last summer out to dinner, paid for their dinner and drinks. And not only that, then got up and rallied them around all the tables we had outside in this patio, and had them all share, each of the graduates for last year, go around and share one piece of advice for their second year in the program. And then that cohort ended up making a book out of that what they wrote down, what they shared. And that was just an amazing moment that I'll never forget in my whole life, that you guys did that, and it just represents how supportive your cohort was, how much you were considerate of other people, respectful of other people, the generosity that you bring. I've just been so impressed with all of you and with what you've given to us and to other students in the program, and paying it forward. And I hope that continues to set a tone for future cohorts in paying it forward. So thank you for that. Thank you for taking our feedback and showing passion and growth. Thank you for pushing us to be better too. You've definitely done that. We've all had to adapt and be better during the last 5 months, and you guys have been excellent partners in that process. So thank you. I'm sure there were some very challenging moments and discouraging moments, and times you wanted to wring my neck, times you wanted to wring each other's necks, but we're all better for it. And you all have greatly impressed us, and you'll be greatly missed in this program, and I hope we all stay in touch, and you continue to stay in touch with us, with our professors, and that you take this degree in industrial and organizational psychology and make a difference. That's really, I think, what drove you all to come into this program, to learn, to enter this career field. That's what's driven all of us to be here as well, and I know you're well equipped to do so. So I'll be looking forward, we'll all be looking forward to watching you progress in your careers and the difference you can make in the change that we have to make and have to move forward with in this country and in this world. So thank you all, and I'm going to call each graduate up individually. Actually, Dr. Shockley and I are going to take turns here, calling each graduate up individually in alphabetical order. Those of you in the room, feel free to cheer loudly as you want for each of the graduates and they come up here and grab their ceremonial diploma. And then afterwards, we'll get everyone on stage. We'll distance all the graduates and hopefully be able to take a picture with all the graduates up here, separated out. So I will hand it off to Dr. Shockley here.
I just wanted to say something really quick before I start. I told this cohort in our last class together that you guys truly were my favorite class ever in all of my teaching, and I just want to say I really meant it. Everything everyone says about your heart, your head, your hands, they shine bright in all of you. I can't wait to see what you guys accomplish. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to read the names and then the title of the white paper. So first we have Shannon Alford with Narcissism and Organizational Leadership, a Summary of the Research. Find it. Pose for a photo. Got it? Mei Tang Chen, The Vitality of Leadership Development in Internal Succession Planning. Paige Kunoko, The Role of Culture Integration in Merger and Acquisition Successes. Aaron Cunningham. Paradox between life and livelihood, leading employees in, it says liminal space, but I think it's supposed to be minimal space. Liminal? That's right, okay. Liminal space during COVID-19. Thomas Douglas. Buried treasure, adoption of social network analysis for improved team formation. Joanna Hegwa-Burrow. The workforce impact of mergers and acquisitions, a focus on organizational culture and employee engagement. Dakota Kinney. After action review, a tool to increase performance through structured conversation. Katie Manette. Very relevant paper on what does it take to be a strong virtual leader. Rapidly shifting work environments raise the question.
Jake Miter. Using data visualization and storytelling to gain organizational buy-in. Bella Nguyen. Building team cohesion in a virtual workplace environment. Janisha Peggis. Collaborative human automation partnerships, 4 steps for organizations to get more from their automated and people systems. Trent Perry. Other, unspecified, prefer not to say. The problem with the gender binary and best practices for creating a trans-inclusive organization. Jared Richardson. Gamifying employee selection. David Benjamin Van Landingham. Best practices for managing organizational culture during mergers of higher education institutions. Tanya Wilson. A leadership advantage, the art of effective change management. Angelisa Young. Team engagement, a focus on the collective. Congratulations to all of you, to all 16 of you. Best of luck in everything you do, best wishes, and we'll have you up here for a picture. You can move your tassels to the left now, officially degreed with a master's degree. It goes right to left, I guess, if it moves, but all right. Well, thank you all for coming, and we'll have the graduates up here for a picture. And I hope you all have a great rest of the day celebrating this awesome accomplishment. Thank you.